Hi guys, it's Mrs. Millison. Let's do the check you understand on page 362. Okay. Yellowstone National Park surveyed a random sample of 1,526 winter visitors to the park. They asked each person whether or not he or she owned, rented, or had never used a snowmobile, and respondents were also asked whether they belonged to an environmental club like the Sierra Club. The two-way table summarizes the survey responses. Suppose we randomly select one of the survey respondents. Let's define event E as the person being an environmental club member, so that would be all these people, and S being a snowmobile owner, so that would be these people, and N, those that have never used a snowmobile. Okay, so we're going to find the probability that a person has never used a snowmobile given that they are an environmental club member. Okay, so this is a conditional probability. Okay, so we can do the formula for conditional probability, which is the probability that a person never used a snowmobile and is an environmental club owner, all over the probability that they are an environmental club member. Okay, so if we do that, the probability that somebody never used a snowmobile and they're an environmental club member is 212 over 1526. And then the probability that somebody's an environmental club owner is 305 over 1526. And we simplify that, we get 212 over 305, which is 0.695. Oops. Okay. Or we can think of it this way. We can think of all the environmental club owners, or club members, because that's the condition. So of all these environmental club members, what proportion have never used a snowmobile? So of the club members, that's 305. What proportion have never used a snowmobile? 212. So you'll notice we'll get the exact same thing no matter which way you think through it. Okay? That's a little more formal, a little more informal. Okay? Okay, number 2 says, oh, sorry, let me interpret this back. Okay, so there is a approximately 70% chance, so 69.5% chance that if somebody is an environmental club member, they've never used a snowmobile. Okay, so there's our interpretation. All right, number 2. Given that the chosen person is not a snowmobile owner, what's the probability that he or she is an environmental club member? So write your answer as a probability statement using correct symbols. Okay, let's do the correct symbols. So when we do our conditional, that's the condition or the given, that's the probability we're looking for. So if we read this, we want to know the probability that he or she is an environmental club member. So that's the probability that they're an environmental club member. The given or the condition is that they are not a snowmobile owner. Okay, so snowmobile owner was S, so I'm going to do the complement of S. Okay, so that would be kind of the technical way of writing it. So again, how can we calculate this? We can say probability of environmental club member and not a snowmobile owner all over the probability of not a snowmobile owner. Okay, this one's going to require a little bit more addition because not a snowmobile owner is going to be the renter and the never used. Okay, so environmental club member and not a snowmobile owner is going to be these two groups of people, the 212 and the 77, all over the probability of not being a snowmobile owner. So it's going to be basically everybody except this 295. So we're going to do these two totals. Okay, so we put, that's a 4. Put that in the calculator. Let me look at my numbers. And we get 0.235. So there's a probability of 0.235 or a 23.5% chance that if somebody does not own a snowmobile, okay, then they're a member of an environmental club. Okay? All right, last one. Is the chosen person more likely to not be an environmental club member if he or she has never used a snowmobile, is a snowmobile owner, or a snowmobile renter? So we basically want to know if they're not an environmental club member, given all these conditions. So we're going to compare the probability of not being an environmental club owner, given that they've never used a snowmobile, okay, compared to the probability that they're not an environmental club member, given that they own a snowmobile, and then the probability that they're not an environmental club owner, given that they rent. I'm going to use R as rent. I know that's not one of our things, but I'm going to use R as rent. Rent a snowmobile, okay? So I'm going to do this a little differently, okay? So of all the people that have never used a snowmobile, so 657, what proportion are not part of an environmental club? So I'm going to get 445 over 657, okay? And this would be the same thing as not an environmental club and never used, 445 over 1526, over probability of never used, 657 over 1526. Okay, so this just goes a little faster. Okay, so now of all my snowmobile owners, 295, which ones are not environmental club members? Okay, I think that probability is going to definitely be higher. Of all the people that rent snowmobiles, what proportion or what probability is not an environmental club member? Okay, these two look like they're going to be high. Okay, so this one we throw it in the calculator, we get 0.677. This one we get 0.946, and throw it in the calculator, make sure I'm right. And this is 0.866. So this is the highest probability. So a person is more likely to not be an environmental club member if they actually, given that they own a snowmobile. That makes sense, okay? All right, and it said justify your answer. My math is my justification, okay? Alrighty, I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.